Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Test Flight in the F-86 Sabre. And I'm continuing this navigation mission, heading back to home base of Snaki Kolki. Right now I'm just setting up for an approach and a quick touch and go at Nauchik out here in the distance. I burned off a lot of fuel. I don't know, I might have to, well, I don't know. I think on 1,800 pounds of fuel, yeah, I can take it up to high altitude and make it back to base in either case. Yeah, so doing a lot of work down here at low altitude does burn off a lot of fuel, that's for sure. Okay, so continuing inbound to Nauchik, I need to come around to a little bit to the right to continue. Let me see, I should be able to pick it up visually at this point anyway. Okay, it should be right out there around this, around that little hill somewhere. I'm expecting to pick up some runway lights in either case, so I'll be able to pick it up no problem. Look around just a little bit, and about 20 degrees still off, so I will pull the throttle in, start to burn off some of this airspeed. Okay, visual on the runway. No, visual on the town. No, that is the runway that I got visual on. Okay, that is Nauchik Airfield that I can see right there, runway 25. So I'm going 180, go ahead and make runway 25. Jeez. Let me try this. Okay, so I'm heading 180. Runway 25 would be left to right. So I'm going to set up for... I'm just not going to do the overhead pattern. I'm just going to do a straight in, touch and go. So coming in, left to right on this airfield. So let me go ahead and go speed brakes out. Just to bleed off some more airspeed. I'm about 400 knots right now. And I can, once I'm set up, go flaps down and gear down. I want to wait until I'm below about 180 knots for that. Let me touch up my trim just a touch. Okay, clear for visual. And can I request a touch and go? No, I can just request landing. I'll do that.
Request landing.
Okay, 300 knots. Let me pull the throttle back in a little bit and turn to final. I was looking for about 130, what, 145-ish on final, 120, no, 146, 121, I believe it was. Still coming in a little fast. Let me go ahead and just do a quick circle out here. Okay, yeah, I'll go ahead and pull the throttle back in a little bit more. And I'm a little bit leery of pulling in the throttle all the way because that does cut out the generator, but okay, right about there where I have it, that's about, yeah, that's about the limit. Okay, so continuing to come back around. Okay, it's 180. Okay, I can go ahead and go flaps down. Go gear down, get back on the throttle. 150. So there we go, stabilized on my approach speed. Okay, now I'll just turn to final out here and we go back to the hold position on my flap lever. Okay, now I just need to really pay attention to my airspeed on this approach. I'm going to keep my speed brakes out because that's going to allow me to keep my throttle at a higher setting. Because if I have my throttle down around, below 60% or so, it's going to take forever if I need to get back up to full power and do a go-around. But now, since I have my speed brakes out, and I've got a dirty aircraft at this point with a lot of drag, my throttle is up at about 85, 80 to 85% during the approach. So all I need to do a go-around or to, as you'll see I do right here after the low approach touch and go, is pull the speed brakes in, and then at that point my throttle is already going to be up there around full power anyway. Okay, so let me correct a little bit over to the right. I've got no wind on this one. I think next time I will leave the default surface winds in and just see how that does on the landing. Okay, I've got two. Okay, nice. Formation approach. That's actually unexpected. I've never seen an AI aircraft do that. Kind of worries me actually. Okay, so continuing the approach, 148 indicated airspeed. It occurs to me that I turned on my pitot heat during the mission previously. I never turned it off on the ground. I meant to just do a quick check and then turn it off, but I kind of missed that part of it. I'll kind of aim for the right side of the runway. And instead of pulling throttle back to idle, what I'm going to do is just... Okay, I'll take that as good. I'll go full power, speed brakes in. I'll go gear up. Okay, gear R up. 2. Okay, 2 aborted as well. And I'll go flaps up. Yeah, I'm really pleased with how this thing handles on approach. And just at low level in general. Yeah, it's really nice to fly. Okay, thank you now, chick. And let me go ahead and turn around to my next leg of this flight, and that's going to be a course of 173 for 85 miles. So let me bring it on around to 173. I'm going to climb and put myself into a configuration that's going to conserve some fuel. I might consider, yeah, I will ditch the drop tanks just to reduce drag and give me a little bit more range out of the aircraft, because I am starting to worry a little bit about range on this one. I've got about, I don't know, 100 miles total. Well, more than that, isn't it? It's about 150 miles to go. So we'll see what kind of range that we can actually get out of this aircraft. Okay, back around to the right a little bit. And let me go ahead and tune to the next frequency, and that's going to be 323, or I'm sorry, 353 is going to be the next beacon out there that I'm going to be guiding on. So let me go ahead and trim out for a climb. Okay, good enough. And let me go ahead and tune to 353. Okay, let me switch the band over to this band. Okay, tuning. Should be right there. Okay, 353. And I'll identify the Morse code coming in, and I'll also verify that the arrow swings around into that direction. Okay, that's directly behind me. That's not 353 apparently. That looks a little better. Okay, still not what I was expecting. Oh, I'm sorry, 3. Yeah, no, that was right, 3-5. Okay, not that far. Surely. Okay, there we go, 353. Pointer is exactly what I would expect for a bearing. And if I had the Morse code, let me see if I can pull that up. Well, it's not going to work because right now there's a little bit of a bug where you just have the codes, the Morse code kind of overlaps each other as you switch stations, so I'm not even going to bother. I know that's the right one. So I'm just going to steer direct on this one. It's a distance of 85 miles, 173, it'll be about 150 miles at this point. And continue on this path. Let me go ahead and clear out, make sure that I've got nothing below me. I'll wait until I'm up over the mountains, then I'll ditch the drop tanks. Okay, so it's a lot of navigation from here on out. I'll just come back and resume whenever something interesting happens, so I'll be right back. And just continuing the navigation, I think I'm in a good spot now to go ahead and ditch the drop tanks. And this should be interesting. Okay, so to jettison the tanks, my selector switch is still in the inboard on and jet position, so I don't really need to do anything with this. But the default way to jettison the tanks is to press this button. And you want to be sure that you're doing the right one, and this is just this little situation right here with this jettison switch and this jettison switch in the same place is just begging for a mistake, because this switch, think of that as like your emergency jettison switch. That's going to drop everything. This switch is just going to drop the tanks. So that's the one that I want to use. I could also, if I wanted to, do an emergency jettison right here, pull this out, and that would jettison them as well. But let's do this. Let's go ahead and press this button. Okay, I believe that did drop the tanks. Yep, tanks away. See them tumbling down to the ground at this point. So that's going to clean the aircraft up, and that should give me enough range to get back on this fuel load. I've still got about 1,400 pounds I'm still climbing out at about at full-ish throttle. I could pull that back a little bit. I don't need that much throttle on the climb out. Bring my fuel flow back down to a reasonable level, so about 20, let me see, 25, 6, 7, 2,700 pounds per hour. So I've got about, let me see, what would that give me? Half hour or so of flight time remaining. I think I can make base on the half hour. That's just a beautiful view out there. That's why I love these sunset and early evening missions. You get some really nice views up here at high altitude or even a low altitude. As I'm at this point crossing the Russian border, so if I bring up my navigation map, I'm right about here at this point in the flight. So I'm just going to come out here. The next steer point is the beacon that I'm guiding on. That's going to be out here in this little valley out here that I can see coming up in the distance, just beyond that second cloud. At that point, it'll be a right-hand turn to 268, and then straight in for a landing at Sanaki Kolki. You know, speaking of range on the F-86, you know, thinking back to all the reading that I've done about the Korean War and, you know, Korean War F-86 or their pilots and, you know, what they did, the range on this aircraft, especially as the war got up into the northern parts of North Korea, up around the Chinese border, the Yalu River area, the range was so bad at some point where some of the guys do report that they would intentionally fly the aircraft and run out of fuel, and as long as they were at a high enough altitude to do a dead stick landing back of the field, they would take that as okay. That was like something they did for real. They planned to do that in a lot of cases, because they just didn't have enough range, even with drop tanks, to make it all the way out and back. So hopefully this mission doesn't turn into one of those planned run out of fuel and glide back type missions, but there is a lot of glide capability in the Sabre. So if that does become an option, that is there, but no, I'm not going to let that happen. I'll divert before I do that. So I'll continue the navigation and be back once we're overhead the beacon. Okay, and now I'm coming through this little valley here. This is where I'm expecting to intersect this beacon, a little bit short of the town of Kashturi out there. So yeah, just as I enter this valley, I should be going overhead. So let me watch the gauge, and we'll see if we can determine once we're overhead. At that point, I'll turn right to 268 for 51 miles. One thing I wish I had done in preparation for this is come up with my little... I've been working on one for... I actually worked on it for the Huey for low airspeeds, but a guide to speed and timing. I mean, I could do this, I could work it out, okay, say that, okay, I'm doing 51 miles, and I'm at, you know, X number airspeed. You know, I have a calibrated airspeed dial up here, so 51 miles at 400 knots, and come up with a time to that location, so just to give me an estimation of where I am using airspeed and time. But I never did do that for fast-moving aircraft. Okay, I'm overhead the beacon at this point. Sure, there I am. I'm getting some kind of twitchy movement out of the dial. So if I'm not overhead, I am extremely close at this point. Let me go ahead and dial in for the next beacon in sequence, and that's 477, and that's going to be the outer marker at the next airfield. So let me go ahead and go 477. Okay, 400. Let me go to the next band over. Okay, 410 to 850. Bring it on down, 477. Possibly there. I don't think so, though. In either case, I will turn to a course of 260. And I am, by the way, up at about 37,000 feet. So my fuel flow is a lot better. It's down to about 1,500 pounds. So, yeah, making it back to base is no issue at this point, as I knew it wouldn't be once I got a better cruise configuration and got up to a better altitude for fuel consumption. But boy, down at low level, you're going to burn through some fuel in the F-86. That is a fact. Okay, I wanted 268. or essentially 270, heading straight back west. I haven't figured out what way that I enjoy, or the way that I like using this dial the best, but I think this is going to work out. Just set it to the desired course and then just have the needle show like a deviation for you. There's probably, there are better ways to use it, I just haven't figured it out yet. Okay, that's not it, so let me continue the search for, what was it, 477. It would be back in this direction if it's anywhere. Right there, that has got to be you. Okay, 477. It's a little bit further off to the right than I thought it would be. That does not seem unreasonable. That would mean that I just overshot the... Yeah, and that's exactly what I would expect, because I overflew the beacon. Now I'm actually south of my desired track, and that means that my next beacon will be a little bit to the right of where I would expect on that course. Yeah, so that's something that all you real-world pilots know already, but me as a good old flight simmer that always has it done for me in the A-10, yeah, I'm learning all this stuff from scratch, so don't be too annoyed with me for getting all this stuff wrong. But folks, that's about all the time that I'm going to put into this video. I'm going to put a break in here. I might get up and walk around. It's been a long flight already. But I'll come back next time with the touch and go at the other airfield and landing at my home base. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time.